In our headlines on this Friday, January 31st, here in South Korea. The mid-air collision between a passenger plane and a military helicopter near Washington, D.C. on Wednesday night is believed to have killed all 67 people on board the two aircraft. 3 people of Korean descent were among the victims. Detained President Yoon prepares for an intense legal battle as he is set to face both impeachment and criminal trials. President Yoon is allowed general visits starting today. Samsung Electronics saw strong annual earnings, but the fourth quarter fell short due to weak operating profit in its chip division, though an Nvidia deal may boost future growth. We begin with the deadly plane crash in the U.S. The collision between a military helicopter and a passenger plane carrying 64 people in Washington, D.C. killed all 67 people on board both aircraft. Among the victims are 3 people of Korean descent, including teenage figure skating athletes. Our Shin Ha-young has more.
Rescue efforts went on through the night, but no survivors were found from the deadly collision of an American Airlines aircraft and the Army helicopter. Early on Thursday morning, U.S. authorities announced that 28 bodies had been recovered and believe all 67 people on board died.
Despite all those efforts, we are now at a point where we are switching from a rescue operation to a recovery operation. At this point, we don't believe there are any survivors from this accident.
CBS News reported that at least 40 bodies had been recovered by 5:30 p.m. Thursday Eastern Time. A U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter on a training flight collided with American Airlines Flight 5342 on Wednesday night local time while approaching Ronald Reagan National Airport near Washington, D.C., sending the 2 aircraft plummeting into the Potomac River, the deadliest U.S. air crash since 2001. The jet had departed from Wichita, Kansas, with 60 passengers and 4 crew members, while the helicopter had 3 military personnel on board. According to AP, less than 30 seconds before the crash, an air traffic controller asked the helicopter if it had the arriving plane in sight. According to CBS News, figure skating athletes and their coaches were on board the plane. Among them, teenage figure skater Jina Han and her mother are believed to be of Korean descent. Spencer Lane, another teenage athlete who was adopted from Korea, was also on the plane with his American mother. They were returning home from the National Development Camp, which was held in connection with the recent U.S. Figure Skating Championships in Wichita.
Spencer Lane, he's one of my best friends. I mean, every single day I would walk into that locker room here and greet him, and he would tell me about his day and everything. And Gina, she would sit and put her skates on in the hallway, but when I would walk down that hallway, I would greet her every morning, and she was so kind to me.
U.S. President Donald Trump shared his condolences and paid tribute to the victims and families ahead of a press conference. But he then criticized the previous administration, indicating that its diversity, equity, and inclusion program for air traffic controllers at the Federal Aviation Administration were partially to blame for the crash.
And then when I left office and Biden took over, he changed them back to lower than ever before. I put safety first. Obama, Biden, and the Democrats put policy first.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth told reporters there appeared to have been an elevation issue with the helicopter and said Army investigators were on the ground looking into the matter. Meanwhile, South Korea's Foreign Minister Cho Tae-yeol expressed deep sorrow over the plane crash. The South Korean government is working to obtain a passenger list, though it is still unclear if any Korean nationals were on board. Shin Ha-young, Arirang News.
South Korean and French authorities will conduct a joint on-site investigation into Tuesday night's Busan aircraft fire at Gimhae International Airport. The Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport announced on Friday that the investigation will start next Monday. Its Aviation and Railway Accident Investigation Board will conduct the investigation in collaboration with the French Bureau of Inquiry and Analysis for Civil Aviation Safety. This follows a joint safety assessment of the aircraft conducted earlier today. France is joining the investigation in accordance with the International Civil Aviation Organization rules as their aircraft was manufactured in France. Acting President and Deputy Prime Minister Choi Sang-mok has today vetoed a bill that would kick off a special probe behind the declaration of martial law last December by President Yoon Suk-yeol and his charges of insurrection from this. The bill was a second revised version of the first one, which was turned down by Choi at the end of last month as well. We have our Kim Do-yeon on the line with us to explain further. Do-yeon, what does this mean?
That's right, Min-jung. As you said, for the second time, Acting President Choi has sent back a bill to start a special investigation into President Yoon and those who were involved in the situation. This came at a cabinet meeting earlier this afternoon, and the move was widely expected, so suggested by the ruling People Power Party. First, take a listen to what he had to say.
As the acting president, I see vetoing this bill as inevitable, considering the constitutional order, protection of national interests, and urgency of responding to the crises, as well as the wishes of the public.
Now, Choi cited a number of specific reasons behind this move, that a criminal trial is already underway after an investigation, that the bill still seems to have an unconstitutional aspect with possibilities of exposing national secrets, and lastly, the fact that the bill was again passed unilaterally. He emphasized the trial part, saying that the state prosecutors have already indicted the president and some of the case's key figures while having them under arrest. He says kicking off a new special probe is only necessary when it needs to complement an investigation that's finished. Therefore, the result of the ongoing trial must come first. As for the unconstitutional aspect, he vetoed the first version, saying that the bill could breach the three branches of government rule. For this one, he says some aspects were resolved from the first version, but some issues still remain. In addition, the wide scope of the investigation laid out on the bill could compromise some of the nation's confidential information as well. Meanwhile, this new version cut down the allegations from 11 to 6, with different ways to appoint the special prosecutor in charge to address the reasons behind the first veto.
Now, how are lawmakers from both sides responding to this decision?
As expected, the main opposition Democratic Party of Korea responded by saying it would hold Choi responsible, possibly referring to another impeachment. The party's floor spokesperson released a written statement saying that it was not unilaterally passed, as the ruling People Power Party refused to negotiate the details of the bill. In addition, while the investigation and trial are going on, others who worked with President Yoon for this declaration of martial law, not yet questioned, need to be vetted as well. The ruling People Power Party had already suggested the acting president veto the bill with the same reasoning as the acting president, but the PPP went further, saying that the special probe bill was a political move by the opposition. That's all for now. Back to you, Min-jung.
Right. Thank you, Do-yeon, for that report. Now, with President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment trial ongoing, he is also facing criminal charges for insurrection. His legal team is currently making preparations to defend the president in court. For more, we have our Park Ko-nu on the line. Ko-nu, what's the latest?
Yes, Min-jung, I'm out. So Yoon's criminal trial on charges of insurrection following his indictment by the prosecution is set to take place possibly in March. We just learned that the panel of judges for the case was decided less than an hour ago. Yoon has been assigned to Criminal Division 25, the same panel handling the insurrection conspiracy allegations that are being faced by military and police leadership, including former Defense Minister Kim Yong-hyun and current head of National Police Agency Cho Ji-ho. Then after pre-trial preparations in February, the trial will begin possibly in March. Usually such preparations for a criminal trial take 2 to 3 months, but given that this is an unprecedented trial of a sitting president, there are expectations that it will proceed faster than usual. Accordingly, Yoon's defense is facing 2 different trials, the Constitutional Court's impeachment trial and the criminal trial. This could result in the president undergoing at least 3 hearings a week, as those for the impeachment will resume their twice-weekly schedule from next week.
Right, and now how has Yoon been preparing for these trials?
So President Yoon continued meeting with his defense team even during the Lunar New Year holiday to discuss trial preparations, though details remain undisclosed. That came after over 100 pieces of evidence were submitted to the Constitutional Court on January 26, which some pundits believe may be a strategy to delay the impeachment trial. One possible scenario for Yoon and his defense team is to request bail to participate in the trials without detention. The court could deny the bail request due to concerns about evidence tampering, but could also accept the request with certain conditions, such as prohibiting contact with related parties. Another possibility is requesting the suspension of the impeachment trial. That's based on a constitutional court act that allows the suspension of such a trial when a criminal trial is also ongoing over the same matter.
Right, and I hear that Yoon's senior advisors met the president after regular visits to the detention center have been allowed first time today.
That's correct, Min-jung. With visits to the Seoul Detention Center now allowed as of Tuesday, 5 high-ranking officials from the presidential office, including the Chief of Staff Chung Jin-seok and Director of National Security Shin Won-sik, visited Yoon this morning. Yoon reportedly said he is doing well in the detention center, noting that it's still a place where people live. And he urged the officials not to be discouraged and to do their best in their respective roles. He also asked them whether the medical system had been functioning properly during the holidays. As these visits can take place once a day with only a few people allowed, members of the People Power Party are expected to visit Yoon later on. First Lady Kim Gun-hee is reportedly not planning to visit at the moment. So that's all I have for you now. Back to you, Min-jung.
All right, thank you, Kanu. Now, moving on, President Yoon's impeachment trial is now halfway into the proceedings, but it looks like it could stretch on for longer than scheduled. It resumes on Tuesday next week with 3 key witnesses to speak on Yoon's martial law decree. Our Oh Soo-young reports.
The Constitutional Court will resume President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment trial after the Lunar New Year holiday, with more witnesses to testify. On Tuesday, 2 p.m., the court will hold the 5th hearing of the trial, with a focus on questioning key witnesses requested by the National Assembly, which is arguing for Yoon's impeachment. Beginning at 2:30 p.m., 3 witnesses will each undergo 90 minutes of questioning. Lee Jin-woo, former commander of the Capital Defense Command, and Yeo In-young, former chief of Military Counterintelligence Command, have both been arrested as key figures implicated in the execution of martial law. He reportedly received calls from President Yoon to drag out legislators from parliament to stop them from voting to lift martial law, while Yeo was in charge of searching and seizing the National Election Commission. Former intelligence official Hong Jang-won will also testify. Hong has already said he received orders, including from the president, to totally round up and clean up political opponents. During the previous hearing, Yoon denied he gave such orders. Also, former Defense Minister Kim Yong-yeon testified the president meant for military members to be pulled out of the assembly, not the members of parliament. As justices cross-examine the witnesses and their conflicting testimonies, the panel can ask their own questions. Yoon is likely to attend every trial hearing and also question witnesses himself, as he did in the previous hearing.
With 4 hearings left till February 13th, the timing of the verdict still remains unclear. Observers say the ruling at the earliest could come by the end of February, but there's still a fair chance of delay due to legal and political factors at play.
Press Officer Chun Jae-yeon said Friday that the court has selected additional witnesses, which include Interior Minister Lee Sang-min and National Election Commission Secretary General Kim Yong-bin, requested by the National Assembly side. On Yoon's side, the court approved National Security Advisor Shin Won-sik, security expert Baek Jong-wook, who was involved in electoral operations, and Director of the National Intelligence Service Cho Tae-yong. The selection of witnesses indicates that the court will consider Yoon's argument that suspected election fraud in the general election last year served as a pretext for declaring martial law. The court is still considering further witness requests by the president's team. If it approves more, the trial could be extended. Justices could also postpone the hearings, considering the pace of Yoon's criminal trial. Still, the judicial panel has been clear that it's focused on holding speedy trial proceedings. Meanwhile, another highly anticipated ruling will be delivered on Monday, on the eve of Yoon's 5th trial hearing. The court will rule on whether acting President Choi Sang-mok violated the constitution by appointing only 2 out of 3 justices recommended by the National Assembly. Choi had left out left-leaning candidate Ma Eun-yeok, raising the need for bipartisan consensus to move forward. If the court finds the omission unconstitutional, Choi would be under significant pressure to appoint him. This would mean the court will operate as a full panel of 9 justices, also increasing the chance of a 2/3 majority vote required to impeach the president. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
Acting Defense Minister Kim Sun-ho spoke with newly appointed U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth on Friday. Minister Kim congratulated Secretary Hegseth and expressed confidence in his leadership amid global security challenges. Secretary Hegseth reaffirmed the strong U.S. commitment to South Korea's defense, promising to further strengthen the alliance. The two agreed on deepening cooperation, especially in response to North Korea's nuclear and missile threats, and expressed concerns over growing Russia-North Korea military ties. On the corporate front, Samsung Electronics posted a rather lackluster operating profit in the fourth quarter due to a sluggish performance by its chip division. Our Lee Soo-jin reports.
South Korean tech giant Samsung Electronics posted a solid performance for the year, but its fourth quarter results fell short of market expectations as the semiconductor division posted a sluggish performance. The chipmaker reported on Friday an annual operating profit of more than 32 trillion won, or around $22 billion, up 398% compared to the previous year. And sales came to around $206 billion, up around 16% on year. This marks the second time that the company recorded annual sales in the $200 billion range after it did so for the first time in 2022. But despite the company's solid performance for the year, its fourth quarter operating profit failed to meet market expectations. While this was expected to log more than $5 billion, it came in at $4.4 billion. This comes as the operating profit from the Device Solution division responsible for semiconductor technology research and development fell slightly compared to the previous quarter, coming in at only around $2 billion in the October to December period. This, according to the company, was due to high research and development costs, as well as expenses spent on expanding its advanced process production capacity. The company spent a record $7 billion on research and development in the fourth quarter. As for the first quarter this year, only a modest improvement is expected as global demand for chips remains weak. But a turnaround may be seen in future quarters as Bloomberg reported on Friday that Samsung Electronics was cleared to supply its fifth-generation 8-layer HBM3E chips to NVIDIA. The South Korean chipmaker's 12-layer version of the chips is still undergoing NVIDIA's quality verification tests. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
A Chinese AI startup, DeepSeek, is challenging industry giants with its cost-effective AI model, sending shockwaves through the tech industry and raising questions about AI development. Our Moon Hae-ryun has the details.
I don't feel threatened by DeepSeek or any other AI model. In fact, competition and innovation in AI development push all models, including me, to improve and offer better responses.
This is the response that OpenAI's ChatGPT gives when asked about its new up-and-coming Chinese competition, DeepSeek. And while ChatGPT may not feel threatened, the Chinese startup is attracting a wealth of attention in the AI market for users and investors alike, as it claimed its new V3 model could be trained at a fraction of the cost required for the computing power from NVIDIA's chips. With its assertion that the model is not only cheap, but rivals OpenAI and Meta's most advanced counterparts, the need to invest billions of dollars in AI technology from the United States is being put under question. Its newest AI assistant has overtaken ChatGPT as the most downloaded free application in Apple's App Store in the US. Global firms, leaders, and investors are showing mixed reactions.
The release of DeepSeek AI from a Chinese company should be a wake-up call for our industries that we need to be laser-focused on competing to win.
US President Donald Trump's comments came as traders dumped big tech stocks, including a record one-day loss for NVIDIA, resulting in American tech companies losing roughly $1 trillion in market value. His nominee to lead the Commerce Department, however, accused DeepSeek of leveraging stolen US technology. DeepSeek used parts of Meta's technology that was given away by the US firm to be freely available online, but OpenAI said in a statement that they are currently reviewing indications that DeepSeek may have used the American tech giant's models to train its own. Outside of the US, European countries showed concern over data security. Italy's Data Protection Authority has banned DeepSeek in a move to protect Italian user data, stating that the firm gave insufficient information on personal data usage, while France's privacy regulator is analyzing the tool to assess privacy risks. As for South Korea, the focus is on how its semiconductor firms could be affected by potential changes in the AI landscape. SK hynix is currently supplying memory chips to NVIDIA, and now Samsung Electronics has been reportedly approved to do so too, meaning that NVIDIA's standing in the AI market will affect domestic chip firms in turn. Samsung Electronics issued a statement on Friday, saying that they are currently monitoring the market, but it is too early to judge with the limited information currently available. There are also mounting concerns that tensions between Washington and Beijing will intensify with this competition in advanced technology, prompting Trump to strengthen regulations on China in the high-tech industry. 문혜련, Arirang News.
Moving on to the situation in the Middle East, Israel and Hamas on Thursday conducted their third prisoner hostage exchange. The latest exchange saw 3 Israelis being released in exchange for 110 Palestinians. However, the exchange did not go smoothly, leading to criticism from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
Israel and the Palestinian group Hamas conducted their third prisoner hostage exchange on Thursday. The exchange saw 8 hostages being released, comprising 5 Thai nationals and 3 Israelis. In exchange, Israel released 110 Palestinian prisoners. The first hostage released on Thursday was a 20-year-old female Israeli soldier, Agam Berger, who was among the 7 female soldiers taken hostage from her unit on October 7, 2023. The 2 other Israeli hostages released on the day were 29-year-old Arbel Yehud and 80-year-old Gadi Moses. Meanwhile, among the 110 Palestinian prisoners who were released in exchange for the hostages was a high-ranking militant officer who had been sentenced to life in prison. Another prisoner was given 13 life sentences for killing 12 Israeli citizens. However, the exchange saw a bit of a delay when one of the hostages, Yehud, was surrounded by a large crowd of Gazans. Hamas had to build a wall around her to get her to the bus that would eventually take her back to her family. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called this a violation of their agreement and described the scene as shocking. The prisoners were released following the confirmation that the 3 Israeli nationals were safe. The latest round was among the agreed-upon 33 hostages and 1,900 Palestinian prisoners to be exchanged during a 6-week ceasefire. 7 Israeli hostages and 290 Palestinian prisoners were released in the 2 previous rounds. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
On and off flurries and sleet were pounding down on this last day of January, making travel on the roads tougher. Then there will be rain in the southwest tonight, gradually spreading to the rest of central and southern parts of Korea on Saturday. Meanwhile, Jeju and Gyeongsang-do provinces could see rain until Sunday, with up to 70 millimeters in the forecast on Jeju. Parts of Jeollado and Gyeongsang-do provinces could see snow as well. Seoul will be free from precipitation this weekend, and warmth returns with highs going way above season norms. But icy weather is ahead of us next week. Checking on tomorrow's temperatures first, Seoul starts the day at -2 degrees, Chuncheon at -5 degrees. Then Seoul gets up to 7, Jeju makes it to 14 degrees Celsius. Now the seasonal calendar may say next Monday is Ipchun, the start of spring, but it's going to feel more like midwinter with freezing temperatures. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
Right, those are the headlines at this hour here in Korea. Coming up right after this break is our daily panel session. Do stay with us, and thank you for now.